of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
It was a pair of home runs that did in the Cardinals on Memorial Day. One of those, a long, long grand slam. Andres Torres and the Giants in town for Game 2 of a 4-game series. This blow knocked out Kyle McClellan as he took the loss. 7-3 would be the final on that grand slam by Torres, and he's in the lineup here tonight. And along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. The Cardinals also picked up a home run. Good to see, and that was Albert Pujols.
Pujols' 99th home run here at Busch Stadium 3, and the weather is starting to heat up, and so is Albert Pujols. We noticed that the ball really carried here yesterday. 421 feet was his home run yesterday. Perhaps he has number 100 in him today.
If he gets it, he'll do it against Ryan Vogelsong or maybe somebody in that Giants bullpen. We'll take a look at the starters when we come back. Chris Carpenter going for St. Louis. Baseball coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. Tim Lincecum tomorrow night here at Busch Stadium. This evening, though, pair of right-handers. We begin with San Francisco starter Ryan Vogelsong.
A new lease on life for Vogelsong. Originally signed with the Giants, bounced around with the Pirates, went to Japan. He's back in the big leagues at age 33, and he is pitching well. Chris Carpenter, his best outing, I think, the end of the year. 8 innings, no walks, 6 strikeouts in his last outing against the Padres.
Carpenter, Vogelsong, Cards, Giants coming up from Busch Stadium as we edge closer to our first pitch. At Busch Stadium tonight, fans filing in as the first place St. Louis Cardinals get another shot at the defending champs, the San Francisco Giants. Tony La Russa signing an autograph for a young Cardinals fan and hoping to also give the hometown crowd a win this evening. Taking the hill tonight, the big right-hander, Chris Carpenter, who is 4-1 lifetime against the Giants. First pitch, starting lineups, next on Fox Sports Midwest. Is brought to you by Bud Light Lime, the just right taste of Bud Light with a refreshing splash of 100% natural lime flavor. By Chevy, see your Mid-America Chevy dealers. By Southwest Airlines, new Rapid Rewards, unlimited reward seats and no blackout dates. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 in quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, life needs flavor. Crowd is still filing in for the early start here tonight. About an hour earlier for our first pitch than normal. And this lineup is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, Torres, Tejada, and Sanchez. Followed by Burrow, Belt, Ross, Crawford, Whiteside, and Vogelsong. And Chris Carpenter, 1-5, gets the start tonight for St. Louis.
Even when he's not at his best, Dan, he is fun to watch pitch. He's been a winner since he's been in a Cardinal uniform. Off to a rough start, 1-5. Not a lot of support, but I think he's getting very, very close. He was outstanding in his last outing.
Let's take a look at the Cardinals defense presented by Dobbs. A late switch for the Cardinals. They scratched Matt Holliday moments ago. You heard that during the pregame show. Alan Craig is in left. You've got Albert Pujols, who's at third base, Berkman at first. So Tony La Russa has really switched up his D here tonight.
Yeah, I assume that Matt Holliday just not able to go. We thought that it was a bit of a stretch yesterday for him to play. We played late into the game and just not ready to go. So Albert at third, Craig in left, Berkman at first. A little bit of a different defensive look behind Chris Carpenter.
We have seen Pujols do this before and looked very comfortable over at third base a couple of weeks ago here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. First pitch is a strike to Andres Torres. Kept a 5-run fourth inning yesterday with his first career grand slam off of Kyle McClellan. First time, by the way, since April 18th. As that slapped the other way and caught, that the Giants scored at least 5 runs in 1 inning. Big question right now with the Giants, their offense, can they put it together?
Well, they really missed Buster Posey, no doubt about that. Offense for them showed up yesterday. We may see some more offense over the next few weeks all around baseball yesterday. A lot of home runs, a lot of runs, things starting to heat up a little bit in terms of the temperature. And with the early start tonight, Dan, we also may see the shadows and the sun come into play.
Well, it does. We've seen it before. As you get a look at Bruce Bochy, he's been with the Padres since 2000, or rather the Giants since 2006 after leaving the Padres. But there's the sunshine in particular with a right fielder. And that gets over the head of the right fielder, John Jay. Miguel Tejada with a 1-out stand-up double.
I'm not sure John Jay is going to catch that ball anyway, but you could tell when that ball was hit, he did not pick it up right away. So the jump was a bit slower. Tejada showing some power the other way.
We've seen it with right fielders, the second baseman, to an extent, the first baseman as we get later into summer. And with these 6 o'clock starts, the sun is definitely right where Lance Berkman is standing right now. It's still in play. Now it's Freddie Sanchez. And he looks at a strike. Sanchez is hitting .294. Pair of home runs. And he's driven in 17 this year. So late scratch tonight concerning Matt Holliday. There's also some news here at the ballpark with Kyle McClellan, the starter yesterday, dealing with a hip issue. There's a fly ball out to left. Backing up just a bit, Alan Craig to make the catch. And on those stories, let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Well, Dan, Matt Holliday, a late scratch in this one. We're told the Cardinals pulled him from the starting lineup in an effort to be, quote, overly cautious. They're saying that the heat plays a part with them wanting to make sure that he's feeling 100% when they insert him back in the lineup. But we are told he is available to play tonight, just not starting, guys.
And any further word as we get a look at Pat Burrell here. He is the cleanup man hitting .234. Jim, any further word on the situation with Kyle McClellan?
Originally, we were told that we get some update on Kyle McClellan as to what that hip injury entails before game time. We're now told an announcement could come after the game or maybe as late as sometime tomorrow.
All right, Jim, thanks. We'll check back in with you in the third. And that pitch is taken just a little bit low. 1 ball, 1 strike. And Rick, you were astute in picking up the fact that in watching Kyle McClellan, and he fell behind on 7 of the first 9 hitters that he saw yesterday, but also the way he was finishing. He didn't look comfortable.
Yeah, there was a couple of pitches early on where he stumbled off the mound, and I think that really was the issue, and he never quite got right again. And when you're competing at this level, you self-evaluate a little bit, but you don't want to think about every little pain that you have because you've got a job to do. So he's not going to stand out there and cry about it. He's just going to find a way to pitch. Unfortunately, he couldn't get his mechanics back on track.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Pat Burrell, one of the postseason heroes a year ago for the Giants. Outfield is deep, and they play him to pull, and time is called. Pat Burrell, a number of years with the Philadelphia Phillies. And he had some outstanding seasons, in particular the power numbers, as he came up in 2000. And he was with Tampa Bay in 2009, part of 2010, and then wind up with the Giants after a trade. First round pick back in 1998. Pat Burrell. Favorite player growing up, George Brett. That's why he wears that number 5. Two balls and 2 strikes on Burrell. In the dirt outside. You think about Burrell's career, kind of flown under the radar, but the fact is, for the most part, fairly consistent. He has averaged 26 home runs and 86 driven in per year since he got called up in 2000.
Kind of the next tier level good player in baseball. Not the top tier guy, but the next tier, consistent numbers.
A runner at second base, that's Miguel Tejada.
You win with second tier players.
Absolutely. And that's what they found with Pat Burrell a year ago. And it's a walk to Burrell after getting out in front. And Carpenter has his first walk of the evening. And it brings in the lefty, Belt, Brandon Belt. Belt initially drafted as an outfielder, and now with some of the injuries they've been dealing with, he is playing over at first base. 5th round selection in 2009, and takes a pitch a little bit high.
Very good first baseman. He's their star of the future. We saw him the first series in San Francisco, and he had a lot of hype around him. They were talking about him as the Rookie of the Year candidate already in week 1, and he really got overmatched in that first series and early on. Spent some time back in the minor leagues. Now he's getting a chance to play again.
Now, when he was in college, and Rick, I had a chance to see him in college, played for Augie Garrido down at Texas. He was an outfielder, as I mentioned, also as a pitcher, but they made a full-time switch. They saw he could swing the bat and moved him to a position player. He was part of a team that went to the College World Series and eventually lost a couple of years ago to LSU. So quickly he has made the jump here to the big leagues from the University of Texas. Good breaking ball. Couldn't hold up. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Runners at first and second. We're just underway here in the first inning. The 1-2 pitch. Another check swing. Augie Garrido, one of those guys, the college game, it doesn't matter if you're batting 4th or 9th. He talks about winning innings and bunting no matter who's at the plate to sacrifice and move runners up. A little different story for Brandon here at the big league level. Tied him up. Good pitch. First strikeout for Chris Carpenter. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first. Lewis, glad you're with us. Unfortunately, Matt Holliday not in the starting lineup. Late scratch for Tony La Russa. This is brought to you by Southwest Airlines with Theriault, Jay, and Pujols here in the first inning. Then Berkman, Craig, and Rasmus, Molina, Schumacher, and the pitcher, Chris Carpenter. And what a season, at least the start of this year, for Ryan Vogelsong back in the big leagues.
Yeah, he's had a great start. He was a phenom when he first came up in the year 2000, and career went in the other direction. Did not pitch well against the Cardinals when he was a Pirate. Spent a couple years in Japan. He's back and has a low kind of three-quarters delivery. Sinker, slider, change, throws low 90s.
Remember, this was a guy that was highly thought of with San Francisco, so much so that he was traded in the middle of the season with Armando Rios for Jason Schmidt and John Vanderwall back in 2001. So initially began his career with San Francisco, and he never won a game for the San Francisco Giants. Appeared in 4 games in 2000. In 2001, 13 games. He was 0-3 and then traded away. As our director Tom Mead just showed you, he works from the third base side of the rubber.
Yeah, trying to create a little angle against right-handed batters. Got, again, the low three-quarter or the high three-quarters delivery, really. It's not exactly overhand, but comes a little bit from the side and will throw that cutter to right-handers away.
It's spoiled by Theriault. Ryan Theriault, 13-game hitting streak on the line today, which matches his career high. And by the way, it's the longest active streak in the major leagues, along with Buster Posey, who is more than likely done for the year after having surgery. Repair of the ligaments in his ankle, also a fractured leg. Collision at the plate. The 2-2 pitch. Found it interesting that Tony La Russa in the off day last week on Thursday was back home in the Bay Area, and he said that he listened to a lot of talk radio, listened to some of the writers and fans, Bruce Bochy, players, about the collision, and he does believe that there needs to be something done with the rule.
Yeah, and the hard thing is just what do you mean by doing something about the rule? It's not that easy to determine how you'll give a runner one side of the plate, and not a simple thing. You just hate to see somebody the caliber of Buster Posey not being able to play for an entire season, maybe more than that. Eli Whiteside getting the call behind the plate tonight, but to go without your best player, by far your best player, for an entire year, tough on Bruce Bochy, actually leading all catchers in the All-Star balloting early on. And you like to play against their best.
2 balls, 2 strikes here on Theriault. Spoiled again, lifts it into right field, shading from the sun. Cody Ross to make the catch. Let's take a look at the defense for San Francisco. Burrell in left, Torres in center, and Ross is in right. Tejada, Crawford, Sanchez, and Belt along the infield. Vogelsong and Whiteside, the battery tonight that's presented by Dobbs. And here is John Jay. Arguably, he is swinging the hottest bat in the Cardinals lineup. Did not start yesterday. He had started 14 straight. During that time, he hit .390 in those 14 starts. Average has jumped up to 343 this year. And looks at a strike.
392 in the month of May, leads all National League batters. I believe, unless my calendar's wrong, May's just about over.
Yep. 0-1 pitch here to John Jay. The last time we saw Vogelsong make a start against St. Louis, back in that magical year of 2004. The 1-1 pitch. The Cardinals beat up on him, and they beat up on a lot of pitchers that year. A lot of teams. 100+ wins that season, on their way to the World Series. The 2-1 pitch to John Jay. 3-1 with Pujols on deck. His last appearance against St. Louis, 2006. So his 5th start in his career against the Cardinals coming here tonight. And again, for the San Francisco Giants. The 3-1 pitch, 3-2.
That 2004 club, probably the strongest Cardinal club in recent memory. You mentioned the offense, Dan, but that was just a solid team.
Yeah.
They hit, but they also hit with power. Of course, we know how good the middle of the lineup was.
Think about the defense, how good that was.
Yep.
Good closer at the back end. Out of all of the Tony La Russa teams, that probably is his most talented. Here's a grounder to second base. Gobbled up by Freddie Sanchez. 2 outs. August of 2004. Last time that we saw Vogelsong at BNC Park, that sweet swing of Jim Edmonds, not once, but twice on August 27th. There's another one. Boy, he would get that high pitch, wouldn't he?
Most lefties like to pitch down. He could hit the ball up, and I've said it a number of times already this year, but I absolutely miss watching Jim Edmonds play. You know, the great ones, I miss watching Willie McGee run. I miss watching Jim Edmonds play center field.
And this is not to take away from Colby Rasmus or anybody else that plays center, but you're talking about a guy that was remarkable in his defense and truly one of the great Cardinals defensively we've ever seen.
Yeah, he was an elite player.
He really was. Played shallow, got great jumps. All the years he was here, Rick, I can't recall maybe once or twice where Edmonds made a false step in. And if he made the false step in, he still was able to make the play.
Did things so smoothly that we started to take it for granted. His throws to bases were always right on time. His jumps, as you mentioned, always smooth, always correct. Anticipation.
A 2-0 pitch to Albert Pujols. Lines it into left center field for a base hit. Slipping on the play, Torres, and Pujols thought about going to second. Now they may get him. They will. He's tagged out. Sliding in hard into first base. Hopefully he's all right. He is, following the base hit. Torres, the center fielder, would slip, and Pujols thought about going to second.
Well, he was hustling down the line at first base, and he saw Torres slip. He probably would have been better off just continuing. We both thought that he had a 50-50 chance of maybe being safe. It would have had to be a good throw to beat him. But when he makes the indecisive stop there and turns back, he is out at first base. And Albert's been so invisible throughout his career, taking extra bases, and that one just didn't work out.
So one hit aside after an inning of play. And Carpenter will face Ross, Crawford, and Whiteside.
I do like the at-bat from Albert.
Saw him go to right yesterday, also hit the home run. And he was ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. Swung on and missed by Ross. 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. We saw him launch a long one yesterday. Cincinnati has jumped out to a 1-0 lead. Top of the second against Milwaukee. Jay Bruce back at it again. He has an RBI. You know, Jay Bruce started out 1 for 19 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. Since that time, 4 for his last 5, and he's leading the league in home runs. One ball, one strike. Lost the bat, and into the seats it goes. Saw that with Lance Berkman over the weekend in Colorado.
So dangerous. Watch out.
Here's a 2-2. The overall leader in home runs, Jose Bautista, with 20 for Toronto. We'll see them in interleague play this year here at Busch Stadium. Jay Bruce with 16. There's another broken bat, and Berkman can't handle it. Ross makes the turn around first. He'll stop there. It was off the end of the bat, so he broke it. Then it had a lot of English on that baseball. Our key to the game: 1-run games presented by Toyota.
Giants 15-6, second in the National League. The Cardinals under 500 in 1-run games. And when you put together a good season, you're usually good at that stat. Win the close ones. Win 8-7, win 2-1. That last ball did have a lot of English on it, Dan, and Berkman almost overran. He did overrun the ball. The ball spun back in the other direction. Effort was good. I don't think there's anything he could have done about that.
So it's a base hit. Here is Crawford. That pitch taken low and in. Crawford batting .250, 1 home run and 5 driven in. No, you were talking about heating up around the country. Literally, it's getting hotter.
Right.
Certainly here in the Midwest. And Memorial Day yesterday on the field, it belonged to the hitters, no doubt. Here's a slow ground ball to the right side. Berkman gets the lead man. That's all they're going to get. There were a total of 169 runs scored yesterday, and nearly 6 runs a game. There's the advantage of a left-handed first baseman.
Berkman coming off the bag. He's got the ability to throw and not have to throw across the runner. A right-handed first baseman would have to turn and throw, and the arm angle would be much more difficult to get a straight line to the shortstop. And not an easy play there by Lance Berkman. Got the job done.
And again, if you're just joining us, Albert Pujols is your third baseman here tonight. Eli Whiteside with 1 out, runner at first. So 46 home runs hit yesterday in Major League Baseball, third most on a single day over the past 3 seasons. 46 yesterday, and we saw 3 of them.
Offense had been down. They were talking about it being the year of the pitcher, and then yesterday changed that. And again, I think the weather may have something to do with it. Dave McKay and I were talking about how the ball was carrying yesterday in batting practice, and basically said, let's not let our pitchers know about that.
Yeah, good idea.
A lot of guys happy, a lot of guys not.
Happy 30th birthday to a big Cardinal fan, Patty Winkler. Patty Winkler enjoying her 30th birthday.
You sure she's not 29?
At 29 for a number of years now,
okay.
So we bumped it up to 30 this year. Still very young, very spry.
Yes, she is.
2 balls, 1 strike on Eli Whiteside. Were you surprised in the previous time we saw Pujols at third that teams didn't try to bunt a little bit more?
One of the things he was doing in his last outing at third base is he was playing so far in, I think he was taking away that option. playing pretty deep right now. You wouldn't think Whiteside would be the type to bunt, but I think if there's a guy that runs decently, Albert is doing the next best thing, trying to take it away by being in on the grass.
Runner was going. The pitch is fouled back. 3-2 the count. Cardinals begin play in first place yet again. 2.5 games in front of the Milwaukee Brewers and 4 games in front of Cincinnati. You know, Tony always talks about winning series. Cardinals have done that. Cardinals have won 10 of their last 14 games. Just finished up a road trip in which they went 6-3. I think one of the most amazing things to think about is that Tony La Russa, 10 games managed away in regular season play to get to 5,000 regular season games managed. Only Connie Mack has more. Think about that, 5,000.
About the number of pitches he's watched thrown, the number of visits he's made to the mound.
All the questions he has answered before and after games.
We don't want to count those.
Began with the White Sox, Oakland, and now St. Louis. 16th season. Big lead at first base. It's Crawford over there. He's running again, and the pitch is hit down the left field line. Home run distance. It's hooking, and that ball is just foul.
Wow. That ball looked like it was staying fair until the very last minute. Whiteside gave it a ride. Cardinals catch a break there. Chris Carpenter has been victimized by making a few bad pitches at the wrong time in some of his starts. Has given up a lot of hits this year. In fact, he just went ahead of Roy Halladay. Halladay had led the National League in hits allowed, which I also find odd.
Yes.
Carpenter was second and now first.
Crawford running again, base hit to right field. First and third, and one out. It's a very good at bat there by Whiteside.
Perfectly executed hit and run. Crawford with good speed takes off on the pitch. Second baseman Schumacher has to cover the bag. He goes towards the bag. Ball hit to his left. Big hole there. Perfectly done. Bruce Bochy has heard all these things about how Chris Carpenter has been pitching this year, but he knows Chris Carpenter to be a guy that you got to scratch for every run you can get. I suspect that he will try to hit and run and bunt. Do anything he can to get on the board against Carpenter.
Runners at the corners. The pitcher is up and a swing and a miss. So still with the 9th place hitter, the pitcher, by the way, is hitting .308. Still a very good chance to come away out of this inning unscathed. 4 for 13 so far this year. Pujols is in at third. They'll hold it first. Runner goes. Ground ball towards short. Diving stop by Theriot. Throws to first and makes the play. Good play by Ryan Theriot. He was heading towards second base. Had to come back. Carpenter gets the ground ball. Run scores. It's 1-0.
Odd situation where they actually send the runner with the pitcher at the plate. Ground ball to Theriot. He's got to make an adjustment. Makes a good adjustment to throw out the pitcher. A pretty gutsy move with your pitcher, sending a runner with one out, trying to stay out of the double play. I get that, but if he doesn't make contact, runner's thrown out. Now you've got the pitcher batting with 2 outs and a man on third.
Is it a situation, Rick, where the offense is anemic at this point? Now, you wouldn't know that watching yesterday, but they tell us prior to that ball game with Posey out, a kick to the psyche of this team, certainly their lineup, where now they're trying just to generate anything going offensively.
I think they'll do that anyway because of Posey's absence, but I also think it has something to do with Carpenter. Carpenter is one of those guys that has a reputation of being an elite pitcher, and you want to score as early as you can. You want to make something happen, put a little pressure on him, regardless of what his numbers say.
That floats in there for a strike. 1-2 on Andres Torres. Hitting 300 in this spot, the leadoff man with very good speed. The center fielder, switch hitter Torres. So again, the Cardinals will have to play catch up here tonight. And from a pitcher's perspective, Rick, Chris Carpenter saying there was a ground ball where if the second baseman is right, not a hit and run, that's a ground ball out. Same thing at short, that's a double play. Those are the little things that have gone against him this year. It's baseball, but it has gone against him.
Yeah, he's had more of his share of things not go his way. Players always say it evens out. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe in a career it does, not always in a year.
.41 pitches with this one by Carpenter, and a strikeout of Andres Torres. Vogelsong, he can handle the bat, help his own cause, and it's 1-0 San Francisco. All Mizzou fans to join us June 25th, Mizzou Day at Busch Stadium. Buy discounted tickets at Cardinals.com/Mizzou Day. Presented by the TV home of Mizzou and the Big 12. And your home of Cardinals baseball, Fox Sports Midwest. Staff Sergeant Jonathan Lamborn is here with his wife and enjoying Cardinal baseball. And Jonathan will be heading back to Afghanistan very soon, so sit back, enjoy a little baseball, and thank you for your service. Again, that's Staff Sergeant Jonathan Lamborn. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Vogelsong back to work. Bottom of the second rolls in, and it's 1-0. Really interesting to see how Bruce Bochy played the top of the second. Pitcher up first and third, and he starts the runner. You rarely, if ever, see that.
Bottom of the order, he showed that he's not afraid to send runners. Sent his catcher. Set him in a situation with first and third and one out when you'd be very careful to run against Yadier Molina. Best catch and throw guy in the National League, maybe in all of baseball.
And what it tells you is that he has confidence in his pitcher and swinging the bat, as well as the fact that he knows Carpenter, once he gets on a roll, could shut you down for the rest of the night.
it's still taking a chance. But
sure
it worked.
is. 1 ball, 1 strike on Lance Berkman. Berkman starts play tonight. The National League lead in batting with teammate Matt Holliday. They're hitting .344 this year. Berkman 11 home runs, 36 driven in.
Well, here's the situation we're talking about. Runners at first and third. Pitcher at the plate. 1 out. And you send the runner. The pitcher swings and misses. You got a problem. But he doesn't. He hits the ball on the ground on the left side. Carrio makes the throw to first, but Crawford is able to score. Pitcher gets an RBI, and it all works out.
Popped up and out of play. Another big crowd here tonight at Busch Stadium. The early start, so fans still filing in. And again, a reminder, tomorrow and on Thursday, $9 terrace level seats, only $9. And the bleacher seats also dynamically priced at $18. And tomorrow night, the Freak is on the mound, Tim Lincecum.
Lance Berkman has not hit well against San Francisco this season, an 0 for 12. Now he has a walk, which he's done a lot lately. But even his career numbers, not very good against the Giants, just .237. You can chalk that up with some pretty good pitchers in San Francisco, but they also seem to have a knack for making the right pitches to Lance Berkman.
Get the feeling tonight with Vogelsong on the mound, and you're going to have to face Lincecum and Sanchez. Pretty big game in this series.
Well, you could get buried if you don't. Right, if you don't hit. You're exactly right. If you don't hit Vogelsong, you've got 2 of the top 4 pitchers in the National League in terms of batting average against. They have low numbers. Lincecum, teams are only hitting .207 against him. That's 4th in the league, and Sanchez just .204. Not many hits to be had against those 2 guys.
Alan Craig is 6 for his last 12. Had a couple of doubles yesterday. And since May 19th, he's batting a Major League best .455.
Early on, there was a concern that we weren't able to find enough at-bats for Alan Craig to keep him sharp. Didn't play early on, wasn't swinging well early on, but he has been very good in the month of May. Feel very comfortable with him at the plate.
How comfortable do you feel with him at second base?
I would not say comfortable would be the word that comes to mind. He's going to make the routine plays. They may not be smooth, but he's going to make them. But he's not really going to be able to turn the double play that you need to be able to turn at this level. Not yet, at least. But they're working on it.
A 2-1 pitch here. Berkman is running. 2-2. And Tony really has a good problem right now when you've got both Jay and Craig swinging the bat like they are, trying to find them at bats somewhere in this lineup.
Well, there was a time where we would have thought in the offseason, before the Cardinals signed Lance Berkman, that we might be looking at a platoon in the outfield between Jay and Craig, and that they would be kind of one of the outfielders. Just those, they'd be the right fielder. And then when Berkman came, you thought, uh-oh, how are we going to get at bats for either or both of these guys? But injuries have opened the door for that.
Check on Berkman.
And Craig playing other positions.
Sure. Tony started the runner on 2-2, or rather 2-1. Will he do so on 2-2? And you get a look at runners on, much different average. The 240 mark for Alan Craig. Berkman not running, and the pitch is taken for a ball. That's a tough pitch to take right there.
Might have been outside. Very close.
Three-two pitch. Berkman's running. Grounded to third. Only plays to go across the diamond. And that's the first out. Well, the the Cardinals are pleased to offer fan-friendly values throughout this season. If you're looking for ways to save some cash or find a great value at the ballpark, make sure to check out the Fan Value Corner at Cardinals.com/values. We saw Bumgarner, Rick, yesterday hit the ball fairly well for a pitcher. Here tonight, Vogelsong gets the ground ball, puts it in play, drives in a run. Well, Lincecum is hitting .080. Matt Cain is hitting .043. So this is the best of the bunch that we're getting here in the first two games.
Well, some hitters pride themselves on their ability to put the ball in play and help out their own cause. Some guys need to help out their own cause a little more than others. Some pitchers need to help themselves. Cardinals over the years have had a couple of guys that come to mind, Bob Forsch and Bob Gibson, that were very good at helping themselves.
Bob Forsch, a former position player before being converted to a pitcher.
And now a minor league coach with the Cincinnati Reds organization. Churning out all these guys that are throwing well against us. Don't like that.
No. 1-0 pitch to Colby. 2 balls and no strikes with Molina on deck. So Vogelsong with 5 ribbies this year now. The 2-0 catches the outside corner. 2-1.
Missing a little bit with his off-speed pitches. He's not really finishing them, not getting him out front. Has a very smooth delivery, though, the right-hander. Not a lot of moving parts to have to adjust to. Very basic mechanics. Both out of the stretch and the windup.
The 3-1 pitch. Good rip by Colby. 3-2. Inning started with a leadoff walk to Lance Berkman. Craig grounded out to third. See what Rasmus has done in 4 games against San Francisco. And now a full count on the Cardinal center fielder. Outfield is deep and straight away. The 3-2 pitch on its way. Rasmus pulls it foul.
And right center really seems to be the tough sun field right now. The right fielder Cody Ross has his glove in front of his face before every pitch. And there's the shadows and the sun. Cody Ross, from our perspective, we'll see him raise his glove here in front of his face just to make sure he's blocking out the sun.
The 3-2 pitch to Colby. 2 outs, and it's up to Yadier Molina. First strikeout for Ryan Vogelsong.
Again, very smooth delivery. Went up the ladder with Colby at the top of the zone, 92.
Seventh place hitter, the Cardinals catcher, Yadier Molina. 1 for 3 in the ball game yesterday. Tying run in scoring position at second base. And that pitch is taken for a ball outside.
The walk to Berkman, Dan, was the 209th walk of the season for the Cardinals. They lead the National League in that department. Their on-base percentage is the best in the National League, as is their average. But the walks are making it even better. Berkman's a guy that's got a ton of them. Theriot has been very patient. I think it's a bit of a new approach for the Cardinals. Deeper counts, more walks.
Inside. It was Berkman's 36th walk overall. His 30th from the left side. Rasmus, a guy that's walked a lot this year with 33. Maybe the surprise is the fact that Pujols is not your team leader. Many times clubs pitching around Albert, and rightfully so. Albert, by the way, does not lead in intentional walks. That's Berkman and then Daniel Descalso. Outfield is straight away for Molina. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Interesting to watch the face of Chris Carpenter in the dugout there. He's not really looking like he's very intense or very competitive, just very casual, but we know in his head and in his heart he is a fiery guy. He looks pretty calm sitting there, wouldn't you say?
Yep. The 3-1 pitch. Molina, ground ball to short. Jim Hayes is coming up with some of the news of the day and injury update as well. Carpenter back to work after 2. It's 1-0 San Francisco. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill at Lumiere Casino. It's now open, a sports bar for everyone. And for all the reasons you invest. Mutual funds from Goldman Sachs. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes, kind enough to join us here in the 3rd inning. And the Cardinals trail by the score of 1-0. Tejada, Sanchez, and Burrow for the reigning world champs, the San Francisco Giants. They defeated Texas a year ago. First pitch to Tejada is taken for a strike. Miguel doubled to right, then was left stranded back in the first. And for those of you just joining us, may have missed it, there's some injury news to get to. We'll start with Matt Holliday. Matt Holliday was initially, Jim, in that lineup and then a late scratch.
Well, he's been battling a tight quad, and the Cardinals say they pulled him out of the starting lineup in an effort to be, quote, overly cautious. Just back in the starting lineup, they figured with the heat, they didn't want to overtax him.
There's Pujols over at third base. Albert to his left and takes the base hit away from Tejada. And we've got Pujols at third and Berkman at first here tonight.
Well, Tony said the reason why he likes Albert at third base, first, he believes he can play the position. He said Albert has volunteered to play third, which Tony underscores is remarkable. For Tony, he said the key is getting John Jay and John Jay's bat into the lineup. Jay, over his previous 14 starts, hitting .390, so just another offensive weapon. And Tony was asked if having Berkman at first is sort of a rest for Lance, and Tony said during spring training, Lance actually said it's more taxing on his legs to play first base than in the outfield.
All right, Rick, you're the expert, you're the analyst, you're the former player. How does that make any sense?
I'm working at it.
We'll let you think about that. So instead of running after balls in the gap, he thinks that this is more taxing at first base.
Tony said that the way Lance looks at it, with the crouching, the squatting, the short choppy steps back and forth, it's a much more natural motion to be running after balls in the outfield. And Lance Berkman felt that it was actually more taxing being at first base on his legs.
And frankly, you can play the outfield for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 innings in a game and get no balls hit to you. I mean, you have to be ready, clearly.
Strike out of Sanchez.
But you're always in the action at first base.
And with Albert at third base, watch a nasty pitch by Chris Carpenter. We had Chris Duncan on the pregame show. Chris, now a member of the media, working at a local sports station, and he said at single A he played first base when Albert was at third, and he said Albert had a bunch of errors, most of them because Chris admitted he wasn't able to make the pick at first.
The self-deprecating humor of Chris Duncan.
And I hear Chris Duncan is doing an outstanding job as a member of the media, brings a lot of insight, and not afraid to poke a little fun at himself as a player. You know, his big league career was obviously hampered by injury, but he put together some pretty nice numbers for the amount of games played. He had good power numbers.
A lot of power numbers early, clearly, and then he just, again, the injury's never the same. Had the problem with the neck, and if you can imagine the violent swing of a power hitter and having neck problems, they just don't go together.
He was on the cat fight tonight.
Celebrity spokesmodel on the cat fight.
I have noticed in talking with Chris, and it's only been a couple of times this year, but so much more relaxed, at ease, and I think it does give you a little idea of how we've gotten to know him as a player and now working in the media, as Jim said, that now the pressure is off him. I mean, you could just tell it looked like the weight of the world was off this guy's shoulders. It also looked like he had actually slept.
It's true. He said as a major leaguer dealing with all kinds of injuries, he had to really convince himself he belonged.
Strikeout of Pat Burrow. Tosses his bat in frustration. 4 tonight for Carpenter. Cardinals to send us your email the booth questions. That is a live look to some of the folks just arriving here at Busch Stadium. Early start tonight at 6:10, and we move to the bottom of the third. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, Jim Hayes with you. Skip Schumacher gets the start at second base tonight, his first plate appearance. Then we'll see Carpenter and Theriot. All the shifting, trying to get at bats. Schumacher coming back after only 15 bats. A rehab assignment, then thrust into the major leagues, which has not been easy for him to get in his timing. And Descalso is a guy that can play second base. He's been at third a lot, so we see Pujols there tonight. And Jim, we hope to see at some point fairly soon David Freese back in that lineup too.
Not sure how soon it will be for David Freese, but he got some good news today. He passed a range of motion test and was given clearance to start swinging a bat on his own, just really wiffle ball bat, stuff like that, just to get the motion down. He said he believes within a few weeks he'll be out on the field doing some baseball related activities. And Tony La Russa said David Freese right now way ahead of schedule.
1-2 the count here on Skip Schumacher. Hits it out of play.
Unfortunately, he's a guy that knows how to rehab because he's had to do it a number of times. And there's a patience to it on one hand, but there's also a work ethic to it. You've got to put in the time. You've got to come in, do the range of motion things. And, you know, it sounds like, oh, that's a simple thing to do. But most of the time that hurts. And you've got to do it under the watchful eye of the trainer, not do it too much, not set yourself back. And David, of course, has had some practice with that.
A lot of it, too, Rick, in talking with David and Skip Schumacher, other guys that have been hurt this year. They are bored.
Oh.
They are just flat out bored that they can't do what they love to do.
I asked Gerald Laird about that, and he said what he's been doing, he bought every copy of King of Queens, and he's watched every episode. David Freese did the same with Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
There's a fly out by Schumacher. There's a look at Gerald Laird. Remember, he was hit on the hand in Kansas City, broke a finger. So he is missing time as well.
I want to get back to David Freese and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. He said he's gotten through most of those episodes and he's moved on to Chloe and Lamar. I guess that's the new spin-off.
No, don't play it like you don't know. I guess.
You've lost me, Jim.
I've never seen it once. I'm reporting.
I understand
what David Freese told me. These are programs I've heard of. Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Obviously, I've heard of King of Queens, the great Kevin James.
It reminds me a little bit of Gerald Laird now that you mentioned it. They kind of had that easygoing personality. Can
Chloe
you see it?
And Lamar. That would be Lamar Odom.
He's an NBA player.
LA Laker. Chloe and Lamar.
Okay.
The 0-2 upstairs to Carpenter. But that would go over really well. Reality show with baseball player and his wife. He wouldn't take any grief with that, would he?
From his teammates, you mean?
Yeah. Can you imagine walking into the clubhouse after one of those?
Well, the great baseball saying that's been there since Abner Doubleday is what goes on in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse. People have been saying that for 50 years in this game or more.
Jim Bouton would disagree.
Well, he broke the rule. That's why he was so ostracized. Great book, though.
It was really good.
2-2 here on Carpenter.
Say Chloe and Lamar again, Dan.
Moving on, Jim. 2-2 on Carpenter. Two-two pitch. I also know something else that David Freese has been doing in his free time. Every once in a while, when you come to a ball game here at home, you may see a Puma. Have you seen the Puma?
Pat Paris had a discussion about that with Lance Berkman. Apparently, the Puma costume paid for by David Freese.
Correct. 2-2 pitch to Carpenter. Just got a piece.
Well, in some ways, baseball is its own little reality show. These are guys just kind of having a life together in the midst of a game that for the most part, what's happening is between the pitcher and the hitter, everybody else having conversations out in the bullpen, talking
Wait a
about
minute, you're
life.
trying to stretch Chloe and Lamar to a reality show of baseball?
I thought we were moving on.
No, I'm saying baseball is the quintessential reality show.
Okay.
I don't need those other ones.
The 2-2. Good at bat by Chris Carpenter. And Carpenter will stop at first base.
I asked Tony La Russa about what Chris Carpenter's going through this season as we see Adam Wainwright rooting on his buddy. Nice piece of hitting. And Tony said the thing he hangs his hat on with Carpenter is the 7 quality starts. Said he knows he's given up a lot of hits, but with everything he's pitched around, there's been some questionable defense behind him. 7 quality starts. Roy Halladay leads the National League with 10. Carpenter's right there in the mix.
And now Ryan Theriot back to the top of the lineup. And that pitch is taken for a strike. Theriot flied out to right first time up.
And I was surprised, Dan, when we checked the stats and we saw that Halladay was leading the National League in hits allowed prior to this game. Carpenter's now gone ahead of him, but his earned run average is low. Halladay's quality starts means you're pitching deeper into games, so you're going to give up more hits. You just don't want to give up the big ones.
And that's how that stat, in your opinion, and rightfully so, can be a little bit misleading.
Yeah, innings pitched are so important for a starting pitcher. Going deep into games, Kyle Osha's been good at it. Saving the bullpen. Not just innings, but good innings. And Carpenter with 8 innings in his last start, matching what we've seen out of Kyle Osha in 3 of his last 5.
Carpenter is running, slicing down the right field line and out of play. How about these managers starting different runners that you normally wouldn't start this ball game here tonight?
Chris Carpenter, not high on the list as somebody you'd send. Sees that it's a line drive. Heads back to first. Definite upset there. I wouldn't do it again.
1 ball and 2 strikes here on Theriot. Not running and backhanded by the third baseman. Tejada takes a hit away from Theriot. He was playing near the line. He fields that cleanly, possibly a double play.
Hard hit, backhand, scrambles. You know, it's important for an infielder to react but not overreact. The ball's at your feet. Don't be in such a hurry that you end up fumbling it. Try to be smooth. Be quick but not in a hurry. That's what John Wooden used to say about playing the game of basketball.
Here's John Jay with 2 outs and a runner at second. On the outside corner, Jay has grounded out to second, 0 for 1 tonight. Outfield is straight away. Inside. Well, John Jay has been very, very good when he gets a starting assignment. The team record 14-6, and look at that, 378 average and 8 RBIs.
Yeah, the pinch hits were not really coming fast and furious early on. Kind of got buried in that department, but he's been much more productive when he starts the game.
Pujols on deck, 2 balls, 1 strike. Milwaukee has jumped out to a lead over Cincinnati after the Reds grabbed the lead 1-0. It's now 4-1 in favor of the Brewers.
This is the non-strike at the knee umpiring crew.
Zone yesterday was very, very tight. A 2-1 pitch. Jay hits it out to left field. That's a base hit, and it gets past Burrow all the way to the wall. Carpenter will score. Jay on his way to third. And we are tied up. It's 1-1. Ricky, if he fields that cleanly, I think Jose Oquendo would have held up Chris Carpenter.
I'm not sure Carpenter would have scored on that. I think they'll probably still give a RBI to John Jay. This ball hit right on the nose. Oquendo hasn't decided yet, but he has now. Ball scoots past Burrow. It got in on him. Kind of got too close to the ball. And you see Oquendo right away start to wave. And again, I think you give an RBI to John Jay. Nice job of hitting either way you look at it. And he probably should have had a strike on the pitch before. Might have changed the outcome of this inning.
So it's a base hit, RBI, E7. So an error on Burrow, and here is Albert Pujols. They extend the inning to Big Albert. And he looks at a strike. Pujols with a base hit back in the first to center field, which was not handled cleanly. He was hustling down the line, thought about heading to second base, and then was caught between first and second, trying to go back to the bag at first, and was thrown out. The 0-1 pitch to Albert Pujols. Ground ball to short. And we have a new game. Jim, we'll see you on the post-game show. Carpenter and the Cardinals have tied it up 1-1.
Lewis, Chris Carpenter wants to show you how important late movement is. Very sharp cutter today, and the curveball. It's a strike until the very last moment, then breaks away from the plate. Batters not able to lay off. They've got to swing at it. They're not all strikes, but of the 33 strikes that Chris Carpenter has thrown, 7 have been called strikes, 7 foul balls, 8 in play, and 11 swings and misses, which shows that his stuff is very sharp. 1-1, top of the 4th inning. Each team with 3 base hits.
One-0 pitch. A base hit into right field for Brandon Belt. That pitch was up. I want to remind you, you can follow the Cardinals with MLB.com at Bat 11 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Just visit Cardinals.com for details or text at Bat to 31826.
3-run home run by Corey Hart has given the Brewers a 4-1 lead. Cincinnati Reds batting in the bottom of the 3rd. That game in Cincinnati. A lot of Cardinal fans not sure who to root for in that game.
Bottom line is you win and you gain on one of the two.
And one team that you like to lose loses.
I said at the beginning of the year, Rick, I really liked Milwaukee for a couple of reasons. One, Ryan Braun, MVP candidate, it seems like every year. You've got Prince Fielder in a contract year, highly motivated. And most importantly, Greinke and Markham adding to that rotation with Gallardo. Giants will tell you it comes down to pitching. And that's one of the reasons why you look at Bruce Bochy's team and you say, well, offensively, they may struggle at times to score runs. You throw Lincecum and Kane and Sanchez, now Vogelsong. We saw Bumgarner yesterday. You have a chance to win any given day.
And Milwaukee's definitely better with Greinke, who's actually the pitcher in the game today, and beating Cincinnati. Gallardo can be an elite pitcher in the National League. I'm just not sure 3 through 5 they're as good as some other clubs. And I'm not sure Milwaukee's figured out how to win yet. Cincinnati did last year. There's that swing and a miss again from Carpenter on a late breaking cutter.
What will be interesting for John Mozeliak and Tony La Russa, if they skip a start for McClellan or have to put him on the disabled list, what direction do you go? Now, Mitchell Boggs, if you're wondering, threw 4 innings in his previous start. That's hit out of play. They're trying to get some flexibility with Mitchell being both a reliever and a starter.
P.J. Walter's been taken off the roster, so I don't think he's a choice.
You've had Lance Lynn. It's been talked about before.
A little intrigued by Raul Valdez in spring training, but he has not been very good. The left-hander that they acquired from the Mets. Not a lot of choices. And I know you're thinking Shelby Miller, Dan.
I am not. I don't want to push it.
No.
Just got called up to Springfield.
And I'm putting that on you, but I think their Cardinal fans probably thinking that, because he did just get promoted to Double-A, but he has some things to learn. And it's going to be a while before we see Shelby Miller at the big league level.
1-2 pitch to Ross, tied up, and that is number 5 here tonight. 1-1 game here in the 4th as we go around the Central. News and notes. Jay Bruce this May, 12 home runs, 32 driven in. The Pirates starting pitching, you see what they've done, and the Milwaukee Brewers at home 21-7, one of the best at home this year in both leagues.
I wasn't sure whether I had full trust in their closer in Milwaukee either, but he's having a pretty good start. He's had some up and down times, Axford, and you like the closer in Pittsburgh. Joel Hanrahan has become an elite level closer.
He is throwing hard. Saw that earlier this year and watching a game the other night. He was upper 90s. We talked about it. Clint Hurdle may be the right guy in the perfect time for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Endless enthusiasm with a young team and a team that has had 2 decades of losing. A fan base that's gotten accustomed to it too. Base hit to right, and Belt will stop at second base.
And this is the first time in a long time where the Cubs have almost become irrelevant to the conversation. They have very good players. We all know that, but they just have not been able to pull it together over the last few years, and they're probably not as good a team this year as they've been in other years.
Rick with Pujols at third, Berkman at first, Jay and right. San Francisco, if it was reversed with Berkman out in right field, they may have tested him on that play. Instead, it's now first and second.
Agreed. John Jay has shown he has an accurate arm, and he charges the ball very well.
So here it is again, the bottom of this lineup. Eli Whiteside, a swing and a miss. Going back to the Cubs for a moment, they'll have over $50 million coming off their payroll this year. Jim Henry, under new ownership, has stuck around, but for how much longer? Will he get an extension? It's really a transition year for them. Trying to look at younger players and then maybe going out and spend some money this offseason. 1 ball, 1 strike.
How many times have the Cub fans heard the words, "we're in a transition"? And that's a fact. But Pirates fans have heard that for about 15 years. Sooner or later, you got to start developing somebody and stick with a plan.
Yeah. 1-1 here on Whiteside in a 1-1 game. Breaking ball taken low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Saw John Hart and Dan O'Dowd do that 5-year plan thing to perfection in Cleveland in the 90s. They said, we're going to lose for 4 years. Get ready. But then we're going to win. And they did. They developed Jim Thome. They developed good young pitchers. A guy named Manny Ramirez. And all of a sudden they've got a team that was the best, arguably, in the American League for a 3-year period.
You know, the Indians, it was just in 2007. They were 1 win away from the World Series again. Boston won that year. And since that time, they've had now 14 different players, either via trade or they picked up off the waiver wire, whatever the case may be. But 14 different new players that have made an impact with this team this year. And right now, Rick, you'd have to say they're as good as any team in the American League with the way they played the first 2 months.
And all these thoughts are what goes through the mind of a general manager.
That is ripped and foul. Well, you're trying to win for this year. If you're John Mozeliak, in the back of your mind, you're saying, well, we want to keep Albert Pujols. We also want to win this year. Can I get contracts that are friendly for this year and beyond? What kind of payroll will I have? Good play by the chair. Or the stool, I guess I should say. Another strikeout, number 6 tonight for Chris Carpenter.
And a lot of swings and misses. Not just the third strikes, but the strikes early in the count.
Pitch count at 70.
45 strikes. Great percentage there for Carpenter.
So here's Ryan Vogelsong. Picked up an RBI back in the 2nd inning. Scored Crawford, who had reached on a fielder's choice. Outfield is straight away. The Cardinals will have Berkman, Craig, and Rasmus due up.
There's not a pitcher in the game who's going to hit that last pitch. Perfect cutter. Started out on the outside corner. I think Chris Carpenter's really found a groove here tonight. And you just hope that lasts for another 4 months or so.
Ryan Vogelsong out of Charlotte, North Carolina. 33-year-old. 6'4", 215 pounds. Non-roster invitee. Now he's part of the rotation.
And he's getting ready to be strikeout victim number 7 if Carpenter throws that cutter on the outside half again. He did. Can't hit it, don't swing at it. No, no, no. Yes.
The 1-2. Cutter again. Gorgeous night for baseball here in downtown St. Louis. And again, it is packed here tonight to see the defending world champs. And tomorrow, I am looking forward to it as just a baseball fan watching Tim Lincecum pitch. And he'll go against Jake Westbrook. Good seats still available, especially those $9 terrace seats, $18 bleachers tomorrow night. Oh.
Went to the curveball. That was just 76 miles an hour, a little more over the top. Downward break. Thought he could get the pitcher, Vogelsong, to bite. Now he's going to have to come in with a strike here.
And a fly ball out to right center field. That ball is carrying. Look at that carry. Near the track in right center. Coming up, Lance Berkman, the switch hitter, leads it off. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Jack in the Box, where right now you can get the new bourbon barbecue steak grilled sandwich at participating restaurants. By Kia and by Steel. Are you ready for a steal? Busch Stadium in St. Louis, it's 1-1. San Francisco has out-hit the Cardinals 5-3. But Chris Carpenter here tonight with 6 strikeouts. And again, we want to thank Staff Sergeant Jonathan Lamborn, who is here tonight with his wife, home from Afghanistan, and some other military personnel that are here as well.
And some of our sentiments, Dan, from Memorial Day are sentiments that we should continue 365 days a year.
Isn't that the truth? So Berkman walked his first time up. It's Berkman, Craig, and Rasmus for St. Louis. RBI tonight for the Redbirds, John Jay, to drive in Chris Carpenter with the lone run for St. Louis back in the 3rd.
You talked about how sharp Carpenter is today and his numbers, how good they are. You know that this is fun for him again. He has not had a lot of fun over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Berkman certainly has had his share of fun.
0-1 pitch. Even a pitch like that is what separates him from some of the others, even in this league.
Just thinking the exact same thing. That pitch, if he swings at that, he's jammed. Little ground ball to second base, maybe pop up on the infield. You look for a pitch you can handle. Guys that walk are smart enough not to swing at the pitches that get them out early in a count. If you get yourself jammed, it's not just your eye at the plate. It's knowing which pitch to swing at and which one not to. And early in the count, you have a smaller zone. The ball's not in that zone, you let it go. You have to expand it late. Not that high.
2-2. It's also being a smart hitter, thinking along with a pitch or two, knowing situational hitting, what may come, a certain count.
Best explanation I ever heard about what a hitter goes through, Jack Clark did here at the ballpark for a bunch of people, telling them at a special batting practice day about, you're either going to give them the location or the speed. I can't guess both. I'm either going to guess in or out, or I'm going to guess off speed or hard stuff. And once you get to 2 strikes, the guessing's out of the game. You have to just protect.
2 strikeouts for Vogelsong. The other strikeout was Colby Rasmus, and as we're talking about his batting eye, they've chased a pitch up.
Jack Clark, of course, came up with the San Francisco Giants and was one of the strongest armed right fielders in the game at the time. I mean, he was an outstanding talent. Cardinals were able to get him for a number of players, including Gary Racich and Dave LaPointe. Jose Uribe, I believe, was in that trade as well, and Jack Clark came over, and we know the rest.
I've talked to Jack about his time at San Francisco. He said it wasn't so much where it was a bad situation, but at the end he said it got poor for him. He said basically I wanted out, they knew I wanted out, and the Cardinals made that happen. Jack was telling me, Dan, you'd be surprised I wasn't a guy that really held back my thoughts. Shocking.
Hasn't changed a bit.
No.
What a great teammate. Jack Clark, I mean, an outstanding teammate. Anybody ever played with him thinks the same thing. Another good at-bat for Alan Craig. Average over 330. That ball hit right on the button. You can tell it was knuckling, not a lot of spin to it. Hit that ball square right back up the box.
Now Colby struck out back in the 2nd. Craig now 1 for 2. Cardinals with 4 base hits on the night. That pitch taken low and away. Get the feeling we'll see a lot of both the bullpens here tonight. Vogelsong at 72 pitches with just 1 out here in the 4th.
Defense is deep in the outfield, straight up for Rasmus. You'd think the left fielder could play him a little bit more to pull. Center fielder as well. You just don't picture Colby hitting that many balls to left field or left center field gap. Can do it.
Jam just a bit, pops it up. Shallow center, going out to shortstop, and still going out. Making the catch is Brandon Crawford. You can visit Bush Bash prior to every Friday home game at the Ford Plaza. Live music, player, and coach appearances throughout the season. And this Friday, the secret weapon, Jose Oquendo, will be out there. For details and future player appearances, visit Cardinals.com/promotions. Cardinals have an Ice Mountain autograph night prior to the ball game tomorrow. Alumni signing autographs, some of the current players as well. So get here early at the ballpark. And again, $9 seats available. And bleacher seats available for $18. You'll see a two-time Cy Young Award winner, Tim Lincecum, 5-4, against Jake Westbrook, who is 5-3. Two out, short lead at first by Craig. First pitch to Yachty, instead another check.
Looking forward to that matchup in Game 3, but also the Game 4 matchup. Jaime Garcia trying to rebound from a very, very rough last outing. 12 runs, and Jonathan Sanchez, one of the best left-handers in the game when he's good. Be a great, great matchup.
I bet inside it's just killing Garcia. Think about that last start after the success and the start that he's had overall this year.
Well, you play the game through your mind. You have to. You have to think about, okay, what I do wrong, what could I have done differently, what I do right, how can I improve? Is it mechanics? Is it something else? Is it strength? Is it rest? Do I throw more between my next start, throw less? You make all those decisions, but then your head is telling you, hey, by the way, you gave up 12 runs. And you just can't get that out of your head because that's your job. And it all comes to a head 2 days after your start when you work on the side with the pitching coach.
ERA jumped up to 3.28 after being in the top 3 in the ERA.
And here's Garcia working with Dave Duncan. They're talking about where is he taking the ball out of his glove. Almost looked like Dave Duncan's telling them you need to stay more compact. Don't get too spread out. Don't get the ball behind you. And listening, coaching, teaching, listening.
A 2-1 pitch. Molina off the pitcher. Hustling to first. Tejada, no play. Base hit for Yadier Molina. We'll check on Vogelsong right now.
Looked like that might have gotten him pretty solid. He's not rubbing it yet, but he did not look very comfortable walking around after that ball hit off his leg.
Remember last night, Aaron Rowan was hit by a Molina pickoff. It's right off the left shin or knee. Vogelsong, we don't see him in the lineup here tonight.
Almost the calf, maybe, Dan.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, the inside of the calf. And what's bad about that spot right there, and I've been hit there before, is it might not hurt now, but that is going to get tighter and tighter and cramp up at one point.
It's also a landing leg and a lot of pressure put on that calf, like you mentioned.
And again, it hurts now and it stings a little bit. You just hate to see somebody hurt their arm trying to pitch after having a leg issue.
Now it's Schumacher. Skip flied out to center. First time up. 0 for 1. Runners at first and second. 1-1 game here in the Cardinals half of the fourth. Popped up left side again. Crawford makes the catch. The Cardinals strand 2. They've left 4 on today. We head to the 5th. Top of the lineup for the Giants coming up. Tourism, go to visitmo.com to start planning your next Missouri getaway. This is Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World in Springfield, Missouri. The granddaddy of all outdoor stores: fishing, hunting, camping, boating, golf, gifts, footwear, and apparel. Also a 30,000-gallon saltwater aquarium. To find out more, just head to visitmo.com. Let's turn to our trivia question, brought to you by AT&T. Prior to Tony Cruz, who was the last Cardinals player to have 5 hits their first 8 bats. Of course, Bo Hart.
We should have known. Bo became a folk hero after going on that hot streak.
It's fun to watch.
It was awesome. It was so much fun, and then somebody started throwing him a curveball.
And then it wasn't so much fun.
No. You know Tony Cruz is having fun. He's got to catch behind the plate, play a little third base. And he's a big leaguer. He wakes up every day and he's a big leaguer, Dan.
Feels pretty good.
Have to pinch yourself every once in a while. It's a dream come true for these players. And after you've played a nice 10-plus year career like Chris Carpenter, you know, maybe it gets a little old hat, but you're still pretty thankful that you have the job that you wanted to do since you were a little kid.
It's 2 balls and no strikes on the leadoff man, Andres Torres. You'd have thought that Burrell had a shot at Carpenter at home, but the official score has to give Jay an RBI with the 2 outs. Can't assume that being out at the plate, so RBI goes to John Jay. And that's where we're at right now. It's a 1-1 game with 5 hits aside.
And a very sharp Chris Carpenter. A lot of swings and misses so far in this game.
That's out of play. 3-2 on Torres. Lined out to left to start the game and is struck out.
Carpenter has a nice pace going. Only walked 1.
Fouled back. But again, you're going to see the bullpens more than likely tonight. 81 pitches for Carpenter so far.
And speaking of the Cardinals bullpen, we were talking earlier about the potential starter for Kyle McClellan. You'd have to throw Miguel Batista into that mix. He is the long man, if you've got a long man, in this Cardinal bullpen. And he's had some experience, a lot of experience at the big league level as a starter.
One of the reasons they picked him up.
Yeah, he'd be my vote.
Setup man, closer, and long relief.
Yeah, and we don't know the real outcome yet of Kyle McClellan.
There's a base hit to right. 6 hits for San Francisco so far this evening.
But to repeat, the initial reports are that there's a chance of him missing a start, maybe 2. Could be a short stint on the disabled list. We'll know more tomorrow. The Cardinals will make an announcement after having some hip issues, falling off the mound early on yesterday and hurting his hip and never quite being the same after that. And just trying to figure out who that next starter will be.
Miguel Tejada, 1 for 2 with a double back in the first. 1997 is when Tejada came up. Think about that. The year before McGuire hit 70.
It's a great seasons too, didn't he?
MVP with Oakland. One year he had 150 RBIs. Think about that. A couple of times participated in the home run derby.
That power may not be there anymore in terms of home run power, but he still has gap power.
Chance for Molina, throw to second and save. Oh, what a slide by Torres to get in there.
I'm not sure that Skip Schumacher had the right tag. He's way in front of the base, and the tag, he is safe. Good call. And first I thought Skip might have been a little late in covering, but that ball was a bit on the third base side of second base, so nothing he could really do about that. Then he tries to tag the back of the base, which is where Torres slides into, and you're right, it's just a good slide by Torres.
He had 26 stolen bases last year. Now a chance for Tejada, the 0-1. You wonder if Skip was back a step towards the bag if that tag is there, and you're talking 1 out and 0-2 the count. Yeah, nobody on.
It's a lot harder to go get the ball, then come back and make the tag than it is to let it come to you on the base. Again, easy to say that. That's a real timing issue. We talk about the timing of Skip Schumacher offensively. There's also a defensive timing.
0-2 pitch to Tejada. 1-2.
Very good throw by Yadier Molina either way.
Cardinals were 3-3 last year against the Giants. Both teams went 2-1 at home. Giants went on to win the World Series. And held on to by Molina. Big strikeout for Tejada.
Tejada doesn't want to go.
Krispy Kreme dozen deal. Cardinals get 9 hits tonight. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow to receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $2.99. Stop by one of the 4 St. Louis area Krispy Kremes for this sensational deal. So 7 strikeouts, and Tejada not able to advance that runner to third.
Exactly right. Tried to stay back on that curveball, just came up empty. Actually tipped the ball. Was very upset that Molina was able to hold on to it.
Matter of fact, I think he was questioning the home plate umpire as to whether or not that hit the ground. But Molina clearly had it in his glove for the strikeout, number 7 tonight. Here's Sanchez, who is 0 for 2. Former batting champion with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Big gap into left center. Breaking ball into right center field, base hit. Rasmus comes up with it, missed it. Jay backing up, and a run will score. Good play by John Jay to back up. Base hit for Sanchez and his 18th RBI.
Johnny on the spot is John Jay. If he is not doing his job, that ball goes all the way to the wall, and we've got a lot bigger problem. I don't think Colby Rasmus is going to throw out the runner anyway. Torres runs really well. Ball just scoots under his glove, and look at John Jay right behind him. Not a big lead by Torres. Didn't get a good jump, but can fly. Very little chance of Rasmus throwing him out either way.
Strike to Pat Burrell.
Colby tries to charge this ball, just stays down. Does a little hop and then just stays down. Scoots under his glove.
Sanchez, the runner at first base. 2-1 Giants. In time called by Pat Burrell, who is walked and struck out. Also committed an error and left. Reds have come back in their ball game. Picked up a run. It's 4-2 in favor of Milwaukee. Burrow fights it off. Foul. Well, you think about Molina's throw to second base. Very easily could have been out.
Exactly.
And with that, you'd be talking about a tie game still. Instead, runner safe at second base and a 2-1 lead.
All about executing.
Little things over a long season, 162 games, that's going to add up.
Decent pitch by Carpenter, but Freddie Sanchez executed, as he's done so many times before. Just flat out hit. Not a real fast runner. Don't expect him to go.
On the outside corner, good pitch by Carpenter. Earl strikes out, number 8 tonight for Chris Carpenter.
Strikeouts are piling up. So are the pitches, however. That pitch might have been a bit outside.
I'm sure Tony La Russa would love to get one more inning out of Carpenter, who is due up first. And he's had 95 pitches so far.
And Tony has shown that he really likes the prospects of getting Chris Carpenter a win when he's pitching in a close game, when he's down by a run. Give him a chance to pitch one more, maybe his club to come back and win. Just doesn't like to see his ace at 1-5.
61 strikeouts now for Carpenter. Leader Jaime Garcia. Brandon Belt is 1 for 2, single back in the 4th. 1 homer, 4 RBIs on the year, now batting .211. Another good pitch, but doesn't get the call. 2-0. So again, for Tony La Russa, depending on what happens here, maybe in this at bat, if the inning is extended, decision time for him. How much longer do you want to keep Chris Carpenter into this game? 3-0.
Really hasn't had that many troublesome innings, but because of the strikeouts and the deep counts, closing in on 100 pitches.
A 3-0 pitch. Make it 3-1.
Pitch 100 is a danger pitch. 3-1 count. Good hitter from the left side. Don't give in.
And he walked him. By the way, the 8 strikeouts tonight, the most that Carpenter has had this season. St. Louis Blues are hosting a food drive to benefit Joplin tornado victims. TJ Oshie, Barrett Jackman, Ben Bishop, Tyson Strachan will be on hand collecting food items tomorrow at Scott Trade Center from 4 to 7. Donors receive a free ticket to a Blues preseason game. And for more information and a list of needed items, just go to stlouisblues.com. That's from 4 to 7 tomorrow. Great cause at Scott Trade Center. Here is Ross, and Carpenter falls behind here. If, Rick, he would have gotten Belt out easily, been under 100 pitches, you think Tony lets him hit for himself and then bring him out to try to get one more from Carpenter in this game?
If he'd have gotten Belt out, I would say he would have gone back out. I do not think it's possible now. Or probable now is a better word. It is possible. But with every pitch, it's becoming less probable.
Yes. starting to stretch right now in that bullpen.
I'm going to start a conspiracy right now, Dan, while we're watching this game. My conspiracy is that Major League Baseball didn't like the fact that the runs were down the last 7 weeks of the season and decided to have every umpire not call the low strike. We've seen a lot of offense from the Giants yesterday. We saw a ton of pitches at the knees not called yesterday and today.
And it's popped up. Who wants it? Molina makes the catch. Giants grab the lead. It's 2-1. Lincecum and Westbrook tomorrow. We've been talking about it. We're expecting a very nice crowd. Weather should be ideal, so come on out. $9 terrace level seats, $18 bleacher seats. And that is it for Chris Carpenter, as we'll see Matt Holliday pinch hit for Carpenter, season high in strikeouts with 8 here tonight. But right now he's on the hook. 2-1 in favor of San Francisco.
Well, you know Carp wants to continue. What kind of competitor he is, but unfortunately the pitch count is too high, and the Cardinals will have to do something in a hurry to get him a victory. They're going to have to score here. Leaves as the pitcher record on the negative side, but if the Cardinals could push a couple across, he can still pick up his second victory, and he would deserve a victory today.
Remember, Holliday was in the starting lineup yesterday. Behind in that fastball, 0-2. He was initially in the lineup tonight, late scratch. Cardinals just trying to really baby this thing along to make sure that he doesn't blow it out so he doesn't miss significant time. 0-2 the count on Matt Holliday. It's a quad injury that he's been dealing with. The 0-2 pitch. High strike, and Holliday strikes out.
Jason Mott will take over for Chris Carpenter, and your point about Holliday trying to nurse that through. What's always so difficult about that, Dan, is you're talking about a human body improving and healing, and not that simple to determine.
See the strike breakdown so far for Vogelsong. Over 80 pitches. The ball game tonight. Ryan Theriot, base hit, extends his hitting streak to 14 games. The longest of his career, the longest thus far in the National League.
my point about the injuries is you can look back 2 weeks from now and say, well, this is what we should have done with Matt Holliday. A lot easier than you can say this is what we should do right now. Same is true with Kyle McClellan. It's a human body. It's got a lot of unknowables to the healing process and how long that's going to take. And you do your best guesswork if you're the trainer and the doctor and you say, hey, I think he'll be ready in 4 days. And then you ask the player, I think I can pitch tomorrow, but you don't really know.
Now John Jay with Theriot, the runner at first. We haven't seen Theriot do a lot of running this year. And he is a guy that previous in his career been a 20 or more stolen base guy, in this season only 4.
And he's yet to be thrown out. Little hitting room on the right side for John Jay.
1 out, runner at first. A 2-1 ball game here in the Cardinals half of the 5th. John Jay has the lone RBI with a base hit to left with 2 outs to score. Chris Carpenter back in the 3rd. Center fielder Torres, with his very good speed, plays awfully deep.
Coming out of spring training, the big question for the Cardinals, one of the big questions, was who's going to be the leadoff hitter. Not sure we know whether it should be Theriot or Schumacher again, who was the incumbent. And then who should hit second? Talk about Berkman. Talk about Theriot hitting second. A lot of conversations about the power guy in that second spot. Alan Craig maybe. But I think the Cardinals have hit on something here more traditional with Theriot, singles hitter, works the count. John Jay, slap hitter, good hitter, batting from the left side.
Two balls, no strikes. Theriot, a slightly bigger lead at first. He's not running, and the pitch is hit in the air out to center field. Torres is back near the track and makes the catch. Theriot back to first base. 2 outs, and it brings in Albert Pujols. It is interesting how Tony La Russa, especially in the last probably 3 to 4 years, has talked about a preference of power in that second spot in the lineup in front of Albert Pujols, and his reasoning, this one among others, is the fact that that second place hitter is going to see a lot of fastballs, a lot of strikes.
Chris Carpenter would like to see a fastball for a strike and have Albert hit one on 421 feet again like he did yesterday.
Pujols with a base hit tonight. That was to center, and he's also grounded out to short. 2 outs, runner at first. That pitch is taken in for his ball.
I would say Tony has rediscovered, Dan, that power in the second spot. Done it more the last few years, but he really started when he was the White Sox manager. Had Carlton Fisk in that spot. Not your classic number 2 hitter.
Very, very deep in the outfield for Pujols. 1 ball, no strikes on Albert. 2-0. Lance Berkman on deck.
Count in Albert's favor here. Pick a spot. Middle in. Make the strike zone smaller. Only swing if it's there. And see how far you can hit it.
The 2-0 pitch to Pujols. 3-0. You don't want to deal with Pujols. You can put a runner in scoring position for the league's leading hitter on deck in Lance Berkman. Doesn't look overly happy, does he?
He does not.
And it's a walk to Albert. Cards erase an 8-1 deficit to the Giants, winning 10-9, 12 innings on a Kenny Boyer walk-off homer back in 1958. Our Schnook's this date in baseball history. In this series, Rick, how have you seen the Giants go at Lance Berkman so far?
Well, they pitched him well. We talked about the numbers for Berkman. He's yet to get a hit against the Giants this year. He's now 0 for 13, not hit well against them in his career. I just think it is not so much what they're doing with Berkman. I think they're being a little careful with him. But he just seems to be a little bit off balance in this series. Seems to be a little jumpy at the pitch and not getting quite the same. Sometimes it's what they're doing to you. Sometimes it's what you're doing to yourself.
It's Guillermo Mota getting loose. He's been around, it seems like, forever.
Still throwing hard.
Runners at first and second. 2-1 in favor of the Giants. And now it's Lance Berkman. Off-speed pitch taken for a ball.
And that pitch is a classic example. He was on his front foot. Picked up late that was a curveball. Was already on his front foot instead of having his weight back. And it's just really a timing thing and a balance thing with the lower half. Usually he's very, very quiet with his lower half.
Berkman, hard hit right to the second baseman. Couldn't hit it much harder. A one-hopper to Sanchez. Cardinals strand 2, and they trail 2-1 as we head to the 6th. HiltonSt.Louis.com to book your Cardinals ticket package. Coming this summer, the new 360 rooftop. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes with us in our Fox Sports Midwest crew. And a 2-1 ball game in favor of San Francisco as we head to the top of the 6th. So it's up to this bullpen, which was very good in the game yesterday. Wasn't efficient, but yet the bottom line is, in our Chevy call to the bullpen, keeping runners off base if you can and not allowing them to get to the plate. Now, there were runners on base yesterday, certainly.
A few walks, you bet.
But no one crossed the plate, and it was scoreless baseball from the bullpen.
And we'll see if they can do it again. They've got 4 zeros to put up here to give their team a chance to win this game. Jason Mott gets the first turn. And really a shame for Chris Carpenter, Dan. And I'm thinking about it, the rest of his year going forward, roughly a third of the way through the season. He'll probably have 20 to 22 more starts going forward. I think Chris Carpenter's going to have to win 12 or 13 games for the Cardinals to win this. They're still going to need him.
Crawford hammers that into the corner and right, and he'll stop at second base. Leadoff double. Crawford has scored a run tonight and now is 2 for 3. He was just sitting on that fastball and whacked it into right.
He's shown a pretty good swing. That pitch 94 and he just turned on. Obviously a good fastball hitter. He had a nice offensive night last night.
We saw Mota getting loose in the bullpen for San Francisco. This is the 8th place hitter And still nobody is at the on-deck circle for the Giants. This is Eli Whiteside. 2-1 ball game. Whiteside fouls it back. And Huff has now grabbed a bat. He'll be the pinch hitter for Vogelsong, who has a chance to go to 4-1 with a win here tonight. 0-1 pitch by Jason Mott with the corners in.
Crawford looks like he's figured it out, Dan. 3 minor league seasons, most of them at the A-ball level or the low A level, hit 260 after a good career at UCLA. You think at his age maybe he's not going in the right direction, but this year he's figured it out professionally.
The 1-1 pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes. A little surprised, Rick, here. They've had a couple of times in this game tonight. Runner at second. You could think about bunting.
Yep.
Testing Pujols defensively, whether he has to charge and make a play or go back to third on a situation like this, and yet Bruce Bochy has not done that.
They didn't bunt with Tejada, and they thought that was an okay move. Thought he could hit the ball the other way, which he did not. He struck out. I think with your catcher and a pinch hitter up on deck, especially a guy with some power, I would think bunting would be a good move. Test Albert. Why not? Make him prove to you.
Milwaukee is added to their lead. It's now 5-2. That's in the top of the 7th. 2 balls, 2 strikes here on Eli Whiteside. Big gap in left center field. And he hits it out of play. Whiteside is singled. That was back in the 2nd inning and also struck out. Carpenter struck out 8, season high here tonight. The 2-2 pitch way up and in. 96 from Mott.
Yachty had a hard time catching that ball. He actually had an awkward stab at that pitch. It was high and in, and you can actually see that hurting Yachty's elbow, almost bending it backwards. Not the spot where he had his glove initially.
And he blew it right by him. Eli Whiteside, clearly, by his reactions, not pleased with himself.
You might say that. Yachty wanted it down a little bit more. It's still not down, but in the hitting zone or close to it.
And then you had a couple words that probably should not be repeated, and he heads back to the dugout. So here is Huff. Vogelsong is through for the night.
It happens.
And that pitch is taken up and in. Huff, 219 on the year. Saw him make a start yesterday. Went 0 for 4. Owns 4 home runs. He's driven in 23 this year.
As a 12-year-old playing baseball Little League, I tried to steal third. Me and my slow speed was thrown out. Said something I shouldn't have said. And as I stood up, I realized my grandmother and my mom were in lawn chairs about 10 feet away from me.
And they heard it.
And they heard it. And I found out later that my sister was sitting with them. And she said, "Mommy, did you hear what Ricky just said?" And she said to my sister, "It's okay. He's playing baseball." That's what she said.
So now
I had some clearance.
So just because of that, when you were, what, 10 you said? Or
I was 12.
Now
I knew better.
Now you let Eli Whiteside go. Say it's okay. Playing baseball.
You have to ask his mom.
Berkman makes the catch, and back to second goes Crawford. Well, Mott may get out of this inning unscathed after a leadoff double. The strikeout of Whiteside. Huff, little pop up here to Lance Berkman. And now we're back to the top of the lineup, and Andres Torres. Torres has lined out to left. He has struck out, and also a single, stolen base following a base hit. And you go back to that 5th inning. throw looked to be pretty good, but an outstanding slide by Torres around Skip Schumacher to put himself in scoring position and came around on the RBI base hit by Freddie Sanchez.
Yeah, there's some more action ahead, though, Dan. 2-1. Yes, the Cardinals didn't get a break on that, but we're going to have a close game to the finish here. It'll be a battle of the bullpens. Cardinals do not want to be behind going into the ninth because the Giants have one of the best in Brian Wilson.
Well, Brian Wilson was a guy that had arm troubles early in his career in the minor leagues. Stuck with it, and really San Francisco can make a case with Wilson, Mota, tonight's starter Vogelsong, guys that kind of got lost in the shuffle, so to speak, but yet they stuck with him. There's a fly ball out to right. John Jay is there, makes the catch. The Cardinals will have Craig Rasmus Molina coming up. Scoreless inning by Jason Mott. Bucks Celebrity Night with the Stars and Tony La Russa dinner and sports auction. The date is June 26th. That's a Sunday at the MAC. All proceeds help Matthews Dickey Boys Club and Girls Club. They keep kids off the streets, involved in positive activities, and on playing fields. The number to call if you'd like to find out more to get tickets, 314-382-5952. 314-382-5952, extension 234 for tickets. The lefty is into the ball game here for the San Francisco Giants, and this is our Chevy call to the pen.
Jeremy Affeldt, the veteran, leads the Giants bullpen in appearances. They've got 4 guys between 23 and 25 games, but he has the most. Big curveball, that's his pitch, and he throws in the low 90s.
Run support for Chris Carpenter this year has been anemic. Craig hits it sharply to short, and the play made by Crawford. Let's go back to our email the booth question presented by carsoup.com. Vanessa in Austin, Texas. Rick, were there any opposing players that you remember completely dominating?
Yeah, I would say one was Mookie Wilson. Mookie Wilson couldn't hit me with a boat oar. His son, Preston, had a chance to play for the Cardinals for a short time. Mookie was a very good major league player.
Preston was on the 06 World Series team.
And then Mookie, part of some Met winners.
Ground ball to the right side. Rasmus retired. Affeldt has gotten the first 2.
Some guys you just have a sense that they can't hit you no matter what, and other guys you know you just can't get out no matter what.
Bill Buckner and Mookie Wilson forever linked with the ground ball through Buckner's legs. back in 1986 in the famous misplay by Buckner. And Buckner actually has now learned to forget to an extent. He kind of hid away for a while, wanted to get his family away from the scrutiny of it. And after the Red Sox won the World Series in 2007, I believe, he was invited back to Fenway Park, in which he said he would not do, and was very, very emotional. There was like a 5-minute standing ovation for him. And he said for him it was like a day in which the fans forgave him and he forgave the fans. And he's actually done card shows with Mookie Wilson on that play and signed memorabilia with that.
Well, players tend to be thick-skinned. You need to be thick-skinned to play this game, but you have your limits, and Bill Buckner had his. Adam Wainwright and Jaime Garcia talking about thick skin. Garcia's got to get through his last rough outing. Adam Wainwright, by the way, spoke at the Fellowship of Christian Athletes golf tournament today. Appreciate him being out there.
There's a fly ball out to deep right field that'll stay in the ballpark as the catch is made. Molina retired. Affeldt a 1-2-3 inning. We head to the 7th, and it's 2-1. And a look at the starters, what they did tonight. Both starters going 5 innings, and Freddie Sanchez 1 for 3, RBI single in the 5th.
How do we get that camera in the river? That's what I want to know.
If it can be done, which it can, Tony West will make sure and take care of that. Believe me.
He is unbelievable.
Guy is all over the place.
Both starting pitchers, by the way, having very similar games, Dan. The ability only to go 5 innings because of the high pitch counts. Each pitcher had a pretty good game. Didn't walk a lot of guys, but couldn't get past 5 innings because of the patience of the hitters.
Coming up on the post-game show, you'll be talking with Al about Chris Carpenter's massive amount of swings and misses, most by a Cardinals pitcher this year. Also the plays of the month. It'll be Rick, Hungo, and Pat Paris. Jim Hayes will also be a part of that. Second inning of work here for Jason Mott. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Miguel Tejada. Milwaukee in the top of the 7th with a 6-2 lead over Cincinnati. Tejada, Jan, Mott. Get ready, Lance.
Threw it like a catcher, too. Didn't he? Yes, get it right to his ear?
He's used to hopping out in front of the plate or the mound and making that kind of play.
And Lance is fixing his glove. loosened the strings a little bit, didn't it?
It's okay. You can shake your hand when a guy's throwing it about 98 down at you. There's Freddie Sanchez, RBI base hit back in the 5th. He's also struck out and flied out to left.
Kind of has that perpetual smile on his face, doesn't he?
He really does. He's been, and we've talked about it, but he's been great for this club and exactly what they needed both in the clubhouse and on the field. You can really be a leader, Rick, and you know this a lot better than I. But to have the kind of fun that Lance has, but then when you also back it up with spectacular play, which he has done.
Yeah, and we both of us have seen players over the years that are having fun, but maybe aren't as committed to the game as they need to be. And you're not saying that about, we're not saying that about Lance Berkman. I mean, you have fun when you have fun, but when you get to the plate, you're locked in, you're focused, and your mind's not somewhere else. And I think you've got to have the ability to let out the steam at some point, but don't lose your professionalism.
He would be on a pace for 33 home runs this year and well over 100 RBIs. That's hit foul. 0-2. How would you take it when you look at Sanchez, who wins a batting title in Pittsburgh, of all places, with not a lot of protection around him? Is it more that they go after him, so he's getting pitches to hit, or it's the Pittsburgh? I mean, how do you look at what he did there?
Well, it's miraculous, really. I mean, I think there's sometimes where guys have standout years with teams that aren't so good, and then they get to a better club and they're maybe overmatched a little bit. They're just a bit player, and the China's. I mean, Nate McLeod, how do you explain him? He leaves the Pittsburgh Pirates, then he's batting 8th with the Atlanta Braves. I mean, he was a standout player for the Pirates as well.
Sanchez hit .344 back in 06. Ground ball right side. Schumacher spins. He got him. Oh, what a play by Skip Schumacher at second base.
A turnabout is fair play. Skip Schumacher known for diving into first base. Freddie Sanchez known for making great defensive plays. And the shoe's on the other foot. Great play by Schumacher. The diving Freddie Sanchez into the base. Gotta love it.
Very, very good play. So 2 outs. And here is Pat Burrows. Had a tough night, 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Also walked back in the first inning. Two balls, no strikes. Mott gave up a leadoff double to Crawford in the 6th inning, then had a strikeout, a pop out, and a fly out. He's gotten the first 2 in this inning. The 2-0 pitch, and Burrell takes a pitch up and in. 3-0. And a walk by Mott. Well, if you have a car and love baseball, then don't miss discounted Cardinals tickets from Phillips 66 Gas when you fill up with 10 gallons or more. For complete details, stop by your local station or visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. Dave Duncan has already made the motion to call a lefty into the game. Normally that's the job for Tony La Russa, but Trevor Miller will trot in from the bullpen. Mott gets 5 outs coming out of the pen in relief of Chris Carpenter. 2-1 ball game here in the top of the 7th. Skip Schumacher with our Home Depot doing more play to his left.
Outstanding play. And Freddie Sanchez hits the ball on the right side. He's smelling hit. He's going to dive for it. Schumacher, diving play, throws him out.
Usually it's Skip that's diving for first base.
Exactly.
So lefty-lefty matchup here with Brandon Belt and Trevor Miller. Pat Burrell is your runner at first base. A 2-1 San Francisco lead and a 1-0 pitch by Miller. So during that break, Shearholtz became the pinch runner for Burrell, so he's at first. '24th appearance here by Trevor Miller. Slicing and foul out of play.
And too many 2-0 counts for Trevor Miller. He's not really the kind of guy that you want to see pitching from behind. You like to see him pitching ahead in the count. That first pitch strike, very important to him and, say, a Ryan Franklin out of the bullpen. Then they can start to do their magic and throw the slider. His best slider is a slider that's not always a strike. And so if you're behind in the count, they'll just spit on that. And now it's ball 3, ball 4. Got to find a way to get ahead with that first pitch.
A 2-1 pitch now from Miller. And he hits Brandon Belt. That has been a real issue this year for Trevor Miller. And that's location, as you well know, Rick.
Yeah, and he really got to get left-handers out. That's the main job for Trevor Miller. And too many have reached base via the walk, couple of hits. And now in this case, he's hit Brandon Belt. Looked like he hit him in a tender spot in the hand. Obviously not meaning to do that. He's just trying to get up and in, and it gets way in. Looked like it might have caught him square on the wrist. Not a lot of protection right there. I remember all those tests. Squeeze the fist. Fingers go back. Pronate. Supinate. Just hoping there's not a scream of pain in any of those movements. Spray something on it. Spit on it. Put a little mud on it. Ouch. Have your first base coach laugh at you.
Now Cody Ross. It's a big run out there at second base. Shearholtz. And that's taken for a strike.
You know, there's a school of thought, Dan, you don't bring in the left-hander until there's a runner in scoring position, because this might happen. You don't get your guy. Now you're facing somebody with scoring position, and you got a lefty-righty matchup. So leave not in until there's a guy where now it's a problem. If you bring in a pitcher too soon, you may be boxing yourself in.
That's way in. And we've talked about it, how you have a starter that doesn't go deep, you have to use your bullpen. And Mott, pitching in back-to-back days, may play into what Tony La Russa was doing. Inning at a third yesterday, and tonight inning in 2/3, and he knows these guys as well as anybody.
Sure.
And their matchups, saw something,
and they're matchups that you really just don't want to take a chance with. The hard-throwing Jason Mott, the fastball hitting Belt. I do understand that.
One ball and 2 strikes.
You've also got a 2-1 game.
Right.
Can't afford to make another mistake.
It is amazing, though, over the course of a series or a season, when you don't have a starter that goes deep, the effect that it has the rest of the way.
We're going to see that tonight with both ball clubs. How they use their bullpen is going to depend on who wins this game.
Up the middle, and that's a base hit. A run will score. The throw will come into second base. That run charged to Mott. Close the book on Jason, and it's 3-1. Big, big RBI base hit by Cody Ross.
Not a bad location. Trevor Miller reaches to get it. Ball hit too hard back up the box. No chance to throw out Shearholtz.
And again, it's the walk by Mott that comes around to score. It was a 2-out walk to Burrow. Then Shearholtz came in to pinch run. Belt hit by a pitch. Base hit by Ross, and now Crawford. 3-1 San Francisco.
So the point would have been, Dan, had even if Jason Mott would have walked Belt, you would have had Mott facing Ross instead of Miller facing Ross.
Off the end of the bat, Schumacher makes the play. It's time to stretch. The Giants, though, add to the lead. The 2-out RBI to make it 3-1. From right, and Nate Shearholtz, who just scored the run, stays in the ballgame, and he'll take over in right field. A very efficient inning by Jeremy Affeldt back in the 6th. And you've got Skip Schumacher starting this inning from the left side. We'll see then if they make a move after this. You've got Tyler Green at the on-deck circle, and then the top of the lineup in Terrio. First pitch is a strike. Schumacher has flied out to shallow center and also flied out to short in shallow left.
Well, it'd be a little bit of the same question. Do you want to leave Affeldt in to at least to get through John Jay in case Cardinals do have a rally? He may be the key hitter in this inning. And do you want to be using your second? You want to go left, right, left, or do you want to leave your left-hander in until there's a real problem? Giants enjoying a 3-1 lead. I think there are times where you see some panic. You bring in guys too soon instead of letting people work themselves out of jams.
One ball and 2 strikes on Skip Schumacher. And he strikes out. Let's see if Bruce Bochy now wants to go to his bullpen to deal with Green and Terrio, but then you have the left side hitting John Jay.
Yeah, wait till he has a problem.
Yeah, and then make that move
or not. Right. If you got the right matchup at that time, let him pitch himself out of his jam. Again, all these moves so much easier to figure out in hindsight. You're a big league manager. You've got to do it at the spur of the moment. You've got to call down to your bullpen coach. In the Cardinals case, Derek Lilliquist gets the call. Get this guy ready for this guy.
Looks like Ryan Franklin is getting loose for the Cardinals now.
That communication's already happened. Ryan knows what his job is.
Tyler Green, little bouncer to short, hustling down the line, 2 away. We saw Franklin pitch Saturday, the blowout game against Colorado, and he would love to reclaim that late inning position. So while it's not a lead, it's still a very important inning coming up, down by 2 runs in the 8th possibly.
I would just like to see him reclaim the confidence and the effectiveness that he's had over the years as a Cardinal. He's given the Cardinals great years. When he was the setup man, he was outstanding 8th inning pitcher for the Cardinals for a couple of years, setting up for Izzy. And he was just a lights out guy in that 8th inning. Then he became the closer, had one of the highest save percentages in all of baseball over a couple year period. And yeah, the wheels have fallen off this year for Ryan Franklin. They just need him to be effective somewhere. I don't necessarily care whether he's in the closer role or not. He does, I'm sure. But I'd just like to see him an important part of that bullpen again.
2 balls, no strikes. Terrio extended his hitting streak to 14 with a base hit back in the 5th. And a crowd to 7,748. 37748.
I like the way the shortstop's playing for the Giants, not just offensively, but he's looked very smooth on the defensive side too.
Tejada can take his time, low throw, and the Cardinals go quietly here in the 7th inning. Giants on top. It's 3-1. Fans are waiting. Grab some buds. By Bank of America, where ATM deposits are as easy as an infield fly. No deposit slip, no envelope. With Bank of America, member FDIC. Along with Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you, and it's 3-1 in favor of the San Francisco Giants, and Ryan Franklin will come in and pitch the 8th.
Yeah, he's the 4th Cardinal pitcher here tonight. Very good start for Chris Carpenter. He went 5 innings, gave up runs. Jason Mott was touched for a run in the 7th inning. Trevor Miller not able to get his man. Gave up a hit and a hit by pitch in his inning in the 3rd. Now Ryan Franklin trying to right the ship. You mentioned last outing a lot better, and one of the closer games that Ryan Franklin's had a chance to pitch in quite some time.
About to ask you about that. This is not a blowout. This is a difference that he hasn't seen, a difference in a game in quite some time. We are talking about a guy that's been around baseball a long, long time at this level, but still, it is a 2-run lead, and you are pitching at home, which I think is another factor, too, with the fans that have booed Ryan Franklin earlier this year.
Yeah, different feel to this game for sure, and maybe a little more adrenaline, maybe a better feel for Ryan Franklin, a more comfortable feel for him.
Aaron Rowan is on deck. We saw him get hit with a pickoff throw by Molina yesterday, not starting tonight. Gets the call here, 0-2. Eli Whiteside is at the plate.
And that's vintage Ryan Franklin right there, getting ahead 0-2, hitting his spots. Tries to stay out of the middle of the plate when he's pitching well. Not overpowering stuff.
The 0-2 on the outside corner. Whiteside strikes out. Third time that Whiteside has struck out. He's 1 for 4.
Another good location for Ryan Franklin. This is a breaking ball. Might have nipped the outside corner, very close. Pitcher's pitch.
Well, you have to give Affeld a lot of credit in this ball game. He pitches the 6th and 7th, scoreless for the Giants. There's a breaking ball that's taken, I guess, a little bit high. You would think that Franklin and Rowan probably were teammates at some point with the Phillies. 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Always surprised to learn that guys were teammates not only in the big leagues, but maybe the minor leagues, maybe winter ball, maybe college baseball leagues. Maybe they played together up in Alaska or in Cape Cod. And
well, how about earlier, Chris Duncan and Albert Pujols on the same infield in the minor leagues?
How about that?
As Jim was telling us that in the 3rd inning. 1-1 pitch, taken low. At the top of the 8th, Milwaukee leads Cincinnati 6-2. Chased a pitch out of the zone. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
But that was the split from Ryan Franklin. He's been trying to simplify his repertoire a bit. You know, he's a guy that throws so many pitches, but when you're out of whack, that's a lot of tinkering. That's a lot of tools you got to bring to the tinkering shop. And he's trying to simplify things. So far, so good.
And a strikeout. 2 in a row for Ryan Franklin. This has to be a boost in his confidence to get 2 straight strikeouts. And we're back to the top of the lineup. Andres Torres looking ahead to the 8th inning. Bottom half. It'll be Jay, Pujols, and Berkman for St. Louis. Still a ways to go in this ball game with those big bats coming up. You're wondering, the Cardinals have already used Matt Holliday as a pinch hitter. Off speed pitch and a strike. This is what we were accustomed to seeing with Ryan Franklin, getting ahead in the count. A lot of strikes.
A little more adrenaline in this game, a little bit more of a game type situation. You know, when you go into a game, Dan, that's already been decided, you're pitching in a 12-3 game. Yes, it's the big leagues. Yes, you should get the job done. But there's a part of you that says, okay, what I do here doesn't really matter. So let me work on something. And when you start thinking about working on something instead of competing, you make mistakes.
His last outing in that blowout, 2 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, and he struck out 3. Good tailing action on that pitch by Franklin.
So we've seen control, we've seen movement, we've seen selection.
John Mozeliak, Tony La Russa talking again about it today, about the track record of Franklin, trying to stay with him, get him right, because they feel at some point he can be a big, big factor this year.
He has to like what he's seeing here tonight in Ryan Franklin.
1-2, the count here on Andres Torres. Molina sets up outside. It's his spot just a little bit low.
And I think the moving back to a closer conversation is so premature because you've got 2 guys that are doing a pretty nice job in the 8th and 9th inning, in Salas and Sanchez.
The 2-2. How about that? Franklin comes in the 8th and strikes out the side. With a base hit out to left field, misplay by Burrell, and Jay would wind up at third. Safe and secure, New York Life. That would wind up being a base hit RBI as Chris Carpenter came around to score. We are in the 8th. Sergio Romo, the setup man for San Francisco. We saw him pitch yesterday and really has pitched well with an ERA that's just over.
Duffy's the 8th inning pitcher, and unfortunately that run that Chris Carpenter scored was the only one the Cardinals scored. He deserved a better fate. He had a good outing. So did Vogelsong, the starter for the Giants. Cardinals with a couple of more chances, however.
Jay, Pujols, and Berkman. I'm going to ask you a question that's a little off kilter here. Baseball at this level. You have arguably the 3 guys that could really do some damage here. And Jay, Pujols, and Berkman. You already have used Holiday. Craig, if anybody would reach, would come up. It's baseball now, major league level, where you don't see a 2-inning save, number one, and you save your closer, in particular, maybe for that one matchup in the 9th or to get you 2 final outs or just a final inning. It's kind of surprising at times when you don't see a manager go to his closer, and that is a fair ball at this time in the game. John Jay is on his way to second base. If these are your dangerous guys, bring in your best to face them right now.
I think it's a very appropriate question. The Cardinal fans loving the fact that Albert Pujols now representing the tying run at the plate against not the closer, but the 8th inning guy, Sergio Romo. That pitch down and in.
And you know what I'm saying here.
Yeah. And do you want Brian Wilson in right now? Because this is the danger spot. I think there will be, Dan, in the next 3 to 5 years, a major league manager that starts doing that. I think there is compelling evidence from the sabermetrics community that it's the right thing to do to bring in a closer in a situation where the game is on the line in the 8th inning. And the old school baseball people will have a hard time making that change, but somebody's going to try it.
Pujols Out to left field. That ball will get down. Albert on his way for 2. Run will score. That's John Jay. It's 3-2. Tying run at second. The go-ahead run at the plate.
John Jay scores, and the Cardinals doing their best to prove your point.
Or, Rick, in a spot like this, knowing that you have these big bats coming up, saying to my closer, give me 6 outs, not just the 3 in the 9th. I need 6 out of you tonight.
Well, that's what would have happened 15 years ago. Most closers went 2 or 3 innings.
You've got the switch hitter, Lance Berkman, coming up. A lefty has been getting loose. The authority of the St. Louis Cardinals, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The potential go-ahead run comes to the plate in Lance Berkman. The tying run at second base. Nobody out, and a lefty, Javier Lopez, comes into the ball game for his 25th appearance.
2 solid left-handers in the bullpen for the Giants, and big situation here. Berkman being asked to hit from the right side. Bruce Bochy doesn't want that, see that left-handed swing with the game on the line in the 8th inning.
Alan Craig is on deck. First pitch to Berkman. This lefty has been tough on Berkman in his career. He's 0 for 6 with 6 groundouts against Javier Lopez.
Sidearm delivery from the former University of Virginia Cavalier.
Had to bring that up. The 0-1 pitch to Berkman. Slowly hit to the left side. Tejada across the diamond. Pujols back to second and in there safely.
I am so glad he didn't stray off more than he did there. Albert had visions of going to third on the throw across the diamond. He'd have been out.
Big out there by Lopez, as Berkman would love to have driven him in or at least gotten him to third base. Now Alan Craig. Franklin did his job with an 8th inning, top half in which he struck out the side. Alan Craig is grounded out to third. He is singled in the 4th and grounded out to short off of Jeremy Affeldt back in the 6th inning.
The 2-out run that was scored in the 7th inning looms very large right now on the Giants side.
Righties are hitting coming into play tonight. .323 against Javier Lopez. The first to Craig. Taken for a strike.
Like Trevor Miller with the sidearm delivery, that's something that will fool left-handers, but right-handers see it. They see it the whole way. There's no fooling going on. The deception doesn't work. So right-handers, much better opportunity to get hits, and Craig might be the right man for this situation.
0-1 pitch. Craig, right field. Will it get down? Yes, it does. This game is tied. Alan Craig delivers. 3-3. And the go-ahead run at second base. Brian Wilson, the closer for the Giants, had been up and just playing catch. Now he sits down.
And the Cardinals doing their best not to see Brian Wilson in this game as they have erupted here in the 8th inning. The promised excitement, the late-in excitement that the Cardinals have been very good at this year, and they may not be done yet.
One out. Here's Rasmus, who's been very good against left-handed pitching this year. And this is where Javier Lopez makes his living. Lefties are 4 for 32 against him. The 0-1 pitch on its way.
So you have the lead if you're the San Francisco Giants. You have a lefty against a righty who doesn't get right-handers out very well. You have first base open with Rasmus on deck. Part of the decisions that a manager has to make. They decide to pitch to Alan Craig. He hurts him. Maybe Rasmus doing such a good job against left-handers may have weighed into that decision.
A 1-1. Rasmus ground ball to the right side. He has been clutch so many times in his career. Yadier Molina with a chance to put the Cardinals on top in a 3-3 game here in the bottom of the 8th. Yadi 1 for 3 tonight. That single was back in the 4th inning.
As you say, clutch hitter. But they don't want to see a clutch hitter. You want the lefty-lefty matchup now.
Now, if you're Tony La Russa, you can counter here with Cosma or Cruz if you don't want to have this matchup. Also have Descalso hits from the left side on the bench. Cardinals have already used Holiday and Green. Remember, Holiday, thought it was interesting at the time that Tony La Russa used Holiday when he did, midway in this game to lead off an inning instead of maybe trying to save that bullet for a spot like this.
A couple reasons I would keep Skip in, and I don't know what they'll do, but Skip, veteran, number 1. But number 2, you've got a chance to maybe have an extra inning game here, and you may want to save some of your chess pieces for later on.
Also, Tony will tell you about at times when he does or does not make a move early in a year. Many times it's to build confidence for the entire stretch of a season. Can you imagine what kind of confidence builder this would be if you get a base hit and a win from Skip Schumacher?
Already a confidence builder in this inning that the Cardinals able to score 2 runs against a very difficult and tough Giant bullpen, down 3-1 in the 8th inning. Team confidence happening right here.
Skip hit it to the left side. He's gone that way a couple of times, but you have Tejada in, and the shortstop is near the bag at second.
Yeah, he's moving over a little bit now, but there's a pretty good hole past Tejada.
Right side. A play at first. It is save, 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 and the Cardinals take the lead.
Little harmless ground ball on the right side of the infield. Brandon Belt leaves his position. Can't get back. Skip Schumacher hustling all the way. Close play at first. The pitcher catches it. Never gets to the bag.
No. The bench reaction. Schumacher. Even he can smile a little bit. It's 4-3 here in the 8th. Side in the top of the 8th. I'm sure there's some that are saying, would you send him out for the 9th? And I think the logical answer at this point, knowing how Tony likes to build up confidence, is that, hey, you've had a good 8th. Our guys in the 9th have done a good job. As you see, Casilla takes over. And that's our answer right there. Fernando Salas starting to get loose. Salas, by the way, will deal with Tejada, Sanchez, and Burrell. His spot, Burrell, is now occupied by Shearholtz. An infield hit for Schumacher as Green hits one out of play.
A lot of heroes in this inning. John Jay got it started. Albert followed. After a Berkman ground out, a double by Alan Craig was a big hit. Eventually a walk to Yadier Molina, intentional walk, and then Skip Schumacher, ground ball to the right side. A lot of heroes. And it begs your question one more time. No Brian Wilson in the 8th inning against the heart of the order for the Cardinals.
Thinking ahead with Tony La Russa now, you've got a very good defensive player in Descalso on your bench. Does he come now and play in this game? How would you rearrange it?
You'd have to rearrange a lot of people.
Yes, you would. Cardinals now about hit San Francisco 10-9 with a lead of 4-3.
You know, that's another interesting question. You've got guys that have played 8 innings and are comfortable out there playing where they play. And if you're going to change, yeah, you could bring Descalso to third. And that would move Pujols to first. And you could put Berkman back in the outfield or leave Jay there. But that's a lot of playing around with your defense.
But that 21-3 when leading after the 7th inning. A lot of that because of their closer. And here's a grounder to Tejada. Tough play. Everybody's safe. Everybody's safe. And look who it is. It's Mr. Clutch.
I think that would have been a tough play to throw out Tyler Green anyway. He had to go to his left. Probably going to give him an error, but I'm not sure he's going to throw out Tyler Green from there. Backing up just a little bit, gets a glove on it. He does keep the ball in the infield to save a run, but Tyler Green is flying right past our shot there. I'm not sure they're going to throw him out. They're calling that an infield hit, and I wouldn't quibble with it.
So here is Descalso. Some big RBIs out there. Bases loaded, 2 outs. 3 hits last Tuesday, including the game-winning RBI single. 2 outs and runners in scoring position this year, 11 RBIs and a .389 average.
Shallow in center, straight up on the infield.
An 0-1 pitch to Descalso. Sanchez is there. The Cardinals pick up 3 runs in their half of the 8th. We head to the 9th. Redbirds on top. 4-3.
To the 9th in St. Louis. Coming up after the game on the post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live, Pat Paris, Rick Horton, Al Roboski will all be on hand. No O for Carp. They'll look at his night. We'll have the plays of the month and Tony TV as well. Fernando Salas on to close it out for the Cards as we go back to the booth. And Dan and Rick, guys.
All right, thank you, Jim. Recorded a second 4-out save Sunday. And he's recorded a win or a save in his last 6 appearances. Fernando Salas takes over for the Redbirds. What could be a huge win in so many ways as Descalso stays in the ballgame, takes over at third. Pujols is at first. But you think about clutch hitting late in this game. You also think about Ryan Franklin in the 8th inning striking out the side. There is a strike to Miguel Tejada.
A lot of good things going on, but one more good thing needs to happen, and that's Fernando Salas continuing his 9th inning dominance. He's gone right at hitters. Good assortment of pitches, used his changeup very well. And has shown to me, Dan, a little bit more comfort level in the closer role than you would expect out of a young pitcher. Usually it takes a while to develop that, but he has the perfect demeanor, almost understated in some ways, but yet very competitive.
1 ball, 1 strike on Tejada. Chris Carpenter strikes out a season high 8 tonight. He's off the hook. And a ground ball hit to short. Got him to reach. Wide throw, but the tag is there by Pujols. Hopefully he's all right. And Tejada as well.
Tyler Green to throw up the line a little bit, and Albert has to do a little sweep tag, which is a dangerous play for a first baseman. You can get hurt making that tag. He's out. Albert hangs on, but forces Tejada to take a bit of a header here. Hit the bag awkwardly and fall backwards. Albert went over to him right away to make sure he was okay. Throw up the line a bit by Tyler Green.
Key first out. Here is Sanchez. Pitch in the air down the left field line. Playable, yes. Alan Craig makes the catch in left right by the fans. Skip Schumacher, our player of the game. Presented by Budweiser, 1 for 4. That one hit, it's a big one. Shearholtz, strike one. One ball, one strike. Close to 40,000 here tonight. Fly ball. This should do it. Coming in. And missing it was Rasmus. He started out a little late break on that. It was off the end of the bat, and it looked like a catchable ball. Great effort. Comes up short. Extends the ball game with 2 outs and a runner in scoring position.
I think the ball fooled him a bit. It was hit off the end of the bat. Tough play to make on the dive. Rasmus just whiffs at it. He gives a great effort, though. But he did not get a good jump because he did not see that that ball was hit to shallow center field. More work to do for Fernando Salas.
Burris will pitch hit for Brandon Belt. Emmanuel Burris is hit safely in 9 of his last 12. Recalled from AAA on April 19th.
The bad break on the ball by Rasmus actually allows Shearholtz to be at second, too, instead of just at first with the dive. Giants with a chance to tie this game in the 9th inning.
0-1 pitch. Outfield not very deep. Burris known for his speed. The 1-1. 1-2. 2-2.
He got the low strike, was going back there again. Trying to go 10 for 10 in saves.
The 2-2. He got him. Cardinals cut back here tonight. 4-3 the final. That is a good win.
Fun game, great win, a lot of heroes. There's a couple of guys who got big hits. Fernando Salas closes it out. Cardinals with a come-from-behind victory with 3 runs in the 8th inning against a very good Giants bullpen.
The Cardinals go back to 10 games above 500. Ryan Franklin strikes out the side in the 8th. That was big. Then the Cardinals, the close play at first, thanks to Skip Schumacher beating out an infield base hit. Their reaction for the go-ahead, a potential winning run at that time. They loved it. 4-3 the final here tonight.